'Cause I'm yours to keep if you want to.
All right, we're rolling. Thank you for coming through to do this, man.
Hell yeah. Come on. I'm excited.
I'm excited. It's cool because so far I've been doing these and I've been learning a lot about people that I've known for a really long time. And I've been learning a lot about them that I had no fucking clue about.
Hey, man. I feel like that.
I just did an episode with Matt last night. And
Okay.
to really go through that fool's life and story and career, I'm like, holy fuck, dog.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
He's
been
done some
a part
shit,
of
man.
He really
Trust
has.
me.
Yeah.
He's done some shit, man.
It's
Matt
amazing.
is
It's amazing.
fire.
But I mean, shit, dude. Honestly, everybody has. It's just cool to go through that and actually have a conversation that's like a linear version of your life and your career.
Yeah.
So let's start with, what's your full name?
Man. My real name?
If you want to.
God damn. My real name, man? Let's stick with Lord Quest. Let's
Okay.
just keep it at that.
Okay, cool. Where'd Lord Quest come from?
Man. It's I think it's an amalgamation of things. I think part of it is I have a very strong affinity for A Tribe Called Quest. I love their music.
Cool.
It's one of those things that's just been around me since I was young. Not knowingly, my dad was a fan of it, so I would just hear it in the house. And I really, really like Madlib as well. And I'm really a fan of like the Lord Quaz character. And there was a point in time where it was just like that was mainly all I was listening to. So my group of friends at the time kind of was like, okay, well, it's Lord Quest. That's like the best of both worlds. And it was kind of just like a running thing. And then it just stuck. I was like, yeah, fuck it. I like it. Let's go.
Damn. See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born in Ghana, West Africa.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, man.
How long did you live there?
Not long. I was there till maybe about 3 years old or so, and then I came back. I actually went back in December of last year for the first time in like 26 years.
Cool.
It was kind of wild.
Yeah, we'll get back to that because I want to talk to you about that.
For
But
sure.
do you remember anything from the first 3 years? I'm assuming not.
Nah, I don't remember nothing.
Yeah. Do you have other siblings?
Yeah, I got 3 brothers,
Older, younger?
younger.
You guys close?
Yeah, super close.
Nice.
Super close.
And I'm assuming both your parents were they both from Ghana?
Yeah,
or
both my parents are from Ghana.
Okay, cool. They still living there?
Well, they're retired, so they're back and forth.
Okay.
So yeah, they do the winter months there because they're not fans of the snow. So.
Yeah. What kind of work did they do?
My mom was a bank manager.
Cool.
Yeah, when she was younger, she was a teacher, and then when they migrated to Canada, she just got into the finance world, and she was a bank manager. And then my dad, he was in the pharmaceuticals. He was a pharmacy technician
Sick.
for the longest time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. How'd they end up in Canada?
My dad. So when I guess I would say probably in the 80s, my dad and his brothers were just kind of like trying to do something different. And he would tell me stories, even up until recently. He was just telling me a story about some stuff that I didn't even know that had transpired. But he would go back and forth between Ghana and Germany, and he would be transporting gold and stuff to sell and whatnot. And I guess one time he had went and shit just got kind of crazy, and he got caught up, and they held him down for a little bit, and then he ended up going back to Ghana. But then after that, he was just kind of like, you know what, I got to do something bigger, I got to do something better. So he tried to make his way to Canada, and even in that journey to go to Canada, he kind of went by way of Germany, and he kind of got hemmed up and whatnot. Because it's funny, he has my dad has this whale on his back, and I've always seen it. And I remember one day I just asked him, I'm like, yo, where did you get that from? And then he told me the story of yo, this is a reminder of yo, the shit I had to go through to get here. And he was just like, yo, when he got to Germany, because they had to sneak through the borders and shit, he got caught, and they beat his ass. And I was like, damn. But that's kind of how shit went down. But yeah, then it just went through there, and then kind of came to Canada and just kind of set up shop, and then came back and got me and my mom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
What part of Canada?
Toronto.
And you've been there ever since?
Yeah, more or less in the GTA, or the Greater Toronto area as we call it, but Basically, yeah, more or less.
What was it like growing up there?
It was cool. It was cool. I remember like just growing up because when we first migrated, obviously you don't know where to go, so you just kind of go where you can kind of fit in, where you can afford. So obviously naturally we were like in the hood. So being there, it was like cool because even where we were living at the time, it was fine. Like it wasn't crazy. It wasn't until like I got a bit older and like started grade school, that's when like things started changing and like just the world around us started getting a little crazier and a little more dangerous. And then there was like an event that happened. There was where I was living, it was this area called Western Road of Eglinton, and there was these buildings there called Denarda. That was the name of the buildings. 30 Denarda was the building that we lived in, and there was a dude that lived in the building, but he worked in the building. This guy named Dave, and he was like a youth leader. So he would do events for like all the youth in the building and like put on like different stuff, and it was like super cool. And like the parents really appreciated him, and then he unfortunately got killed. He got killed, and I think he was shot in the staircase of the building. And it's like after that happened, like it just kind of changed the energy of everything. And then like people were just kind of on edge, and it just wasn't a good vibe. And then you had like the gang violence start to come up and stuff. And then my parents were like, "Yo, nah, it's time to go." And then they moved outside of the city to a city called Brampton, and I've more or less been in Brampton ever since.
Okay. Wow. Wild journey.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff were you into when you were little?
What was I into? Video games for sure. Yeah. Video games was a definite one.
Any particular games that stand out? N64 guy. What was that before?
Damn,
I guess,
it was before that. Like when I was
Genesis
like young. Yeah, when I was young, it was like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, sure. Genesis, like Game Gear, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like if I'm thinking in that world, like I know like Shinobi was real big.
Oh yeah, great
right?
game.
Right?
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat was obviously big. If I'm thinking like Nintendo days, like Double Dragon. Damn, what else? On that side,
Yeah, I mean, just curious. I know it's obviously a long time ago. Yeah. And then what kind of, you get into sports or anything when you were younger?
Yeah, so when I was like young, like when I was like preteens, I was like playing sports, just kind of dabbling in different stuff, like obviously playing basketball, a little bit of soccer, but I never really took to soccer, which is funny because like coming from an African household, soccer is like a big thing. And like all my brothers and my dad played soccer, and I was like the one outlier. Like, nah, I'm gonna play ball. I'm not gonna kick. I'm not gonna play soccer, because I always used to make jokes and be like, oh yeah, soccer's for people that got weak arms. I used to say that to piss my dad off. But yeah, so it was more so basketball really. That was what it was as far as sports went.
Any hockey or no?
Nah, I didn't. Actually, no, that's a lie. I did play, but I didn't play like for real. It was like street hockey, like with my homies, and that was more so like when I moved to like Brampton, right? Because then my circle of friends changed. So then those things became like things that we did. It was like, okay, yo, let's play this, let's do that. So that's kind of how I got into that.
Nice. Were you traveling a lot when you were little, even just around in different parts of Canada?
Yeah, honestly, not necessarily different parts of Canada, but when I was little, I remember like we would travel to the States a lot. Like we had like family in like Washington and like New Jersey and stuff like that.
Cool.
So we would go there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, at what point? Oh, I guess let's jump to like, what was your first job?
My first job. Damn. Wow. My first job was delivering papers. That was my first job, delivering newspapers. Yeah.
Nice. On a bike? You walking? What are you doing?
It depended on the day.
Yeah.
It depended on the day, and it depended which homie was available.
Yeah.
I mean, if the homie was available, then cool. We would just walk. If it was just me, then I would just get on the bike and just get it done.
Nice. What age were you when you were doing that?
I want to say maybe like 12, 13, around there.
Okay. And what'd you do after that?
After that, what did I do? I got a job at McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was crazy because it's one of those experiences I'll never forget, because I worked at McDonald's and I ended up getting fired from McDonald's. But I'll never forget it because it was like the shit that the manager had said to me, because we had two managers and one manager loved me and the other manager, he just wasn't a fan. And I just remember the day they let me go, he was like, yo, yeah, you know what? Like, McDonald's isn't for everybody. And I was just like, damn, like, that's crazy. And it's one of those things, like, it's always stuck with me because I was like, that's wild. Like, bruh, that's
McDonald's
how you really
isn't
feel.
for everybody.
Yeah, I was like, damn, okay. That's what we doing? Let's go.
And where'd that lead to?
So after McDonald's, where did I go after that? After McDonald's, I got a job at this grocery store back home. It's like a big grocery store chain called Fortino's. Okay. So I was working in their hot foods department. So like I was like one of the line cooks.
Okay.
I was doing that for a little bit, and then
Did you learn, as far as like cooking and everything goes, did you learn that from the job, or was that something you were doing at home, or what? I know we share the love of food.
Yeah. No,
so.
I think it was a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because I think at that time, like that was when I was in high school. So like cooking at home was a bit different. It was more out of it wasn't out of love per se. It was like, okay, cool, I gotta eat. Let me just cook some food type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then work was just like, yo, it's work. And it wasn't until like later on where it became like, I actually enjoy this. Like, I want to learn more about this. Cool. So I did that. And then where did I go after that? Damn, I had a bunch of jobs. I did that. And then the next job was, I worked at the bank over the summer. Because like I said, my mom was a bank manager. So she was like, hey, you should come get a job at like one of the branches. So I was a teller at the bank, which was cool. It was interesting because it really opened my mind to the psychology of people. Because I feel like in the bank, it's kind of in this vantage point of it being boring. Like, well, I want to work in the bank. But then the area that I worked in was a very affluent area. And it just, the way you saw people deal with people based off of like how many zeros they had in their bank account or whatnot. And it's like, again, being in that area, it's like nobody is without in this area. Everyone is fairly well off. So It's like just the way they interact with you and how other people interact with them. So it was a good learning experience in that regard.
I always find it fascinating with like these questions because you never know. It's like you took something, you observed something different than any, like you never know how something like those kind of moments stick with you, and you now analyze things from kind of almost like that lens, or you learn from that lens as you're going through life. You know what I mean? It becomes these instrumental little pieces that become like a part of your way of just day-to-day thinking.
Man, and that's what it is. It's like you said, you never really understand or never really know, especially being so young, how things shape the way you view things moving forward, right? Yeah. So just take it with stride.
And what was after the bank?
After the bank I worked at the MTO, so like motor transport office. So it was like renewing like license plates and like people's like driver's licenses and stuff like that. So that was cool. It was like real chill. The hours were good. You're not doing anything strenuous, and like you got paid well. Yeah. So did that. And then after that, where did I go? I started working at this restaurant, this bootleg ass Italian restaurant called Eastside Mario's. So I worked there, and at that time actually I was working two jobs. I was working at Eastside Mario's, and I was working at the liquor store. Okay. Right. So back home, the liquor store is like, it's called the LCBO, but it's like government run. So it's different from here. Like how you can now it's changed. Like you can go to like the grocery store back home in Canada and buy liquor. But at the time it's like you could only go to the liquor store. So I was doing both of those. So I was working at the liquor store and working at Eastside Mario's, and I was in school at the time. So wow. Is this still high school age? This was college. Okay. Yeah.
What'd you go to school for?
I went to school for marketing. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Went to school for marketing. I wanted to go to school for music, but I opted out because I was like, I remember actually, funny enough, when I finished high school, I met one of my best friends in life, my boy Promise, and he was the first person I ever met that did music full time and was like living off of music, and that shit just like fascinated me.
Do you remember what he was doing at the time that he was able to make a living from it?
Yeah, he was just rapping.
Okay.
So he was a gospel artist, so he was rapping and like touring and just like connecting with people and stuff, and it was just super cool to me. And then I remember like that's like my bro for life. Like he gave me my first check in music. Like it was a placement for, I believe it was like NBA 2K, a record that me and him had done, and it just got placed in the game because he was signed to Duck Down at the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
And then how'd things progress from there?
So from there, I was making music the whole time, which is crazy because it's like I'd go to work if I'm working at the restaurant, depending on like the shift you're on. If you're on a close or pre-close, the restaurants don't really have like a end time. If you're working pre-close, it's just like how busy it gets, and if it's dead, then you might get lucky, go home. But the liquor store is like, oh, we're done at 10. So like I would leave work, go home, and if it's like the liquor store, I'll be up from like 10 till maybe like 3 and just working, just like making beats, writing or whatever, go to sleep, get up, go to school, do it all over again.
What a schedule, dude. Fuck.
Yeah, man.
In that early kind of starting to create music part of your life and career, what were the tools you were working with at the time?
So when I was initially making music, I was producing in FL Studios. That's what I was using when I first started.
Nice.
And then
so you jumped right into it.
Yeah. Funny enough, the whole production thing, like for me, it was kind of like a hiccup, like a happenstance situation. So when I was younger, I was more on the artist side. So I was rapping. It was like, yo, this is what I want to do. Like, so I'm rapping with the homies, and like we'd rap over like Wu-Tang beats and all type of different stuff, and like just industry stuff that we would like and we find. But then we got to a point where it was like, yo, if we want to make music for real, we gotta have like our own production, something that's like unique to us. So it was like me and one of the other homies was like, you know what, yo, let's figure it out. We're gonna try to make some beats. And I remember downloading Fruity Loops at the time and trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. It got like crazy frustrating, and I was like, yo, fuck this. I'm not doing this shit. I'm gonna just stick to rapping. And I deleted everything. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna just focus on rap. And then I remember, I think it was like a month later, because at the time I was in high school, and one of my other homies, he had my homie Gavin Shepard. He had a radio show called Soundcheck Show. It was like a college radio show, and they played like hip hop, and it was like in the like early, at the time the show was like early afternoons. They play at like 5 or 6, and I remember one of the guys, and I can't remember his name, one of the homies back then when I was in high school, he had brought this tape. He's like, yo, you gotta hear this shit, you gonna like this. And I'm like, all right, let me hear this. And I listened to him, like, damn, this shit crazy. I'm like, yo, who is this? And he's like, yo, it's this group from North Carolina called Lil Brother. And I'm like, yo, this shit crazy. I'm like, yo, who's making these beats? And he's like, oh, their producer Ninth Wonder. And I was like, word? So I'm like, yo, this is dope. So at the time, we didn't really have like chat rooms and stuff. It was like forums are still big. So like I remember going on the Justice League forum and just like scouring and just like trying to find stuff. And I remember like trying to find anything I could find about Ninth Wonder just to understand his process. And then I realized like, yo, oh, he makes beats in FL. Like, this is crazy. Oh, he chops his samples in, like, at the time it was Cool Edit Pro, and now it's like Adobe Edition or something now. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I was like, yo, damn, if the homie could do it, then I could probably do it too. So I was like, you know what, let me try this again. So I just got into it. And then I just try to learn as much as I could. I would listen to his beats and like try to figure out, yo, how did he chop this sample, and kind of try to recreate the beats that he had done, and then try to make my own versions of it. And that's kind of how like I got back into production. So cool. I guess thank you, Ninth. You know what I mean?
Super cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea, man. So you're going through the process of dissecting, recreating, learning the way sampling works, learning to flip samples, learning to program drums. And is that now just feeding the, okay, I'm still rapping, I'm just making beats for myself and the crew? Or at what point does it become like, this is what I can see as a career, and things start to take shape in that way?
It was at that point it was like, it was definitely, I'm still rapping and I'm still like focusing on the rap, but now I have this other tool that I can use to add to my arsenal. So I was doing that, and then I got to a point where I got good. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna start making beats for the homies and like other people and whatnot. And I just kept going through that, and I felt like for me, the thing that kept me going at the early stages was every time I discovered a new producer. And anybody who knows me, and like even you, like when you look at, when I send out beats, when you see my beats, it's always it's never like, there's never a theme or some type of thing. It's not like some people make beats and they be like, oh, food or like air or some shit. Mine's are numeric.
Yeah.
Right. So the science behind that, it has a lot to do with the way I learned to make music. So what I would do is every single time I would discover a new producer, I would make series. That's what I would call them. And even to this day, I still do it. Like, but now it's just like, I just do it for different reasons. But like before, I would make a series. So it would be like the letter Q for Quest, and then another letter would follow. So that second letter would be for whatever producer I discovered at the time. So it's like when it was, when I discovered Ninth Wonder, I don't even remember what it was at the time. It was like Q something. And then I would start the series. So beat 1 till whenever I would discover somebody new. So Ninth, and then boom, discover Madlib. So now it's QM, and then start again, 1 da 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 da, and then Dilla, QD, da 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 da, Pete Rock, Premier, Kanye West, Timbo, everybody. So it was just like I would go through these series, and it would be like, it would be my version of schooling. That's how I would learn. Like, just, okay, I'm fixated on this producer. Let me learn everything I can about them. And how do they do this? How do they do that? How do I incorporate that and make something of my own in the time? So earlier on, it was a lot of like copycat shit. Cause like, okay, cool. Let's make Timbaland beats. Let's make Kanye beats. But by doing that, I was able to amalgamate all the skills and like senses of being able to put myself in a space where I'm just like, okay, let's just make Quest beats now. What does a Quest beat sound like? You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that, when it came together.
Cool, man. And so you're making beats, you're rapping, and just going through the process of, is it just creating these libraries of music, all these different beats? Are you starting to like show other rappers, singers, and start to make music and get placements in that regard? Or is this all still kind of almost like the homework, cutting your teeth phase, and you're just building the skill set?
I think at that point I did start working with other artists, but I still was like in the homework phase. I wasn't thinking of it at that point of, oh, I'm gonna be a career producer. It was just like, yo, I'm gonna still continue to like build myself. And it wasn't until after I put out my first project. I put out a project, I don't even know what year that was, goddamn. I put out a project called Still Shopping, and it was just like me just like rapping, and I produced the whole thing, and it was just like me, like the whole concept was like me still shopping, me still trying to figure out what it is I want.
It's great.
Yeah. So I put that out, and it wasn't until after I did that I was kind of like, yeah, I'm cool on the rap thing. And it's like, it wasn't that I fell out of love with rap. It's just that I felt like at that point there was a higher calling for me. Like I was called to serve as opposed to being served. It's like, yo, there's so many artists, there's so many like people around me that are trying to do it. So let me be the conduit to help these people get to where they want to go. So it was like, yo, well, it doesn't mean I got to stop writing music. I could just write music for other people, and I can still produce. So I'm going to do that. And then it just, the idea of, I think the other thing, the idea of getting to a certain level of stardom where I couldn't live a regular life, I think that was another thing that bothered me, because I'm like, I never want to get to the point where I can't go to the park with my kid, or I can't go to the mall with my family because people are gonna lose their mind. But oh my gosh, question them. It's like, nah, I'd rather be low key, make a shit ton of money, and just fuck off.
Oh,
You know
trust
what
me,
I
I feel you.
So, you know
So
what I mean?
how was that like early? I guess like I would still consider it early stage. You're making beats, and what's in your mind in terms of how am I getting this moving? You know what I mean? How am I getting? Is it going for placements? Is it kind of just like I'm naturally just going out? Are you doing beat battles? Are you doing any kind of things that are like the traditional producer path, or is it just really like a oh man, this person I connected with randomly through a friend and we made music, and you know it just introduced me to another person, like you know the path kind of go like what's the process for you?
Funny enough, like I always wanted to do beat battles. I just never could bring myself to do it because it was just like the idea of it was cool to me, but I'm like, I don't want to battle nobody with no beats. Like I just want to go and have a good time and enjoy. So I would go to the beat battles, like, and it was a thing in Toronto. Like we have a thing called Battle of the Beat Makers that started there, and it's from what I understand, it's global now. But like it was like I would go to those and I would see the homies. Like I remember seeing like Boy Wonder and like all these different people like that I came up with like at these battles. And I'm like, yo, this is dope. But I never personally got involved. But I would just like work with people through word of mouth, and like at the time, like coming up, like Two Dope Boys was like a thing. You know what I mean? So like even there, and I guess even at that time, actually, after I did my project Still Shopping, I was still rapping, and I just transitioned from a solo artist into a group. So I had a group with like one of my homies, Brisk in the house. We had a group called Unlikely Heroes, and I was still producing. And at that time, I was connecting with different artists all over, and just like sending out beats and just going online trying to figure out like, yo, who's who, and like how do I send beats to this person or whatnot. So I was just like moving stuff around, and then I think on the production side, things really got serious when I can't remember what song it was, but there was a song that I had done. It was part of like the Unlikely Heroes duo thing I did with my boy, and I was on MySpace at the time, and then I got a message from a dude named Tunji. And he was like, yo, what's up? Da, 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 da. And I was like, yo, what's up? And he's like, yo, I heard your stuff. I really like it. Yo, who's rapping? I said, yo, me and my homie Brish. Like, who's producing the stuff? I said, me. He's like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, all right. So we just kept talking back and forth like every day. And I remember like we had been talking for like months, like just messaging like, yo, what's up? Da, 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 da. And it was funny because at the time I was like really into LA hip hop, like the underground scene. Like I was really into the shit. Like I was heavy listening to like Dom Kennedy, Tehran and Omari, like all these like random things, like what's his name? Like Anderson, but like when Anderson was Breezy Lovejoy, like that time, like I was really into that. And like in Toronto, nobody was into it. So I remember like talking to Tunji and telling him like this. And I remember asking him about Tehran, and I was like, yo, there's this artist I really love, this dude named Tehran. And he's like, oh, Tehran, like Tehran AMR. I said, yeah. He's like, yo, oh, that's my best friend. And I was like, what? So I was like tripped out. I was like, yo, this is crazy. And we just kept talking. And I remember he would say something to me all the time. I'd be like, yo, what's up? What are you up to? He's like, yo, oh, I'm at work. And I'd be confused. I'm like, bro, what do you do? Like, why are you at work and you're on MySpace? Like, what kind of job does that? And this is like maybe 3 months into our relationship, just talking back and forth. And he's like, oh, yo, I'm executive assistant for the president of Interscope. And I was like, what? So it was like super cool because the relationship wasn't like built off of, oh, you the plug, so let me be cool. It was like we were just genuinely cool.
Yeah.
And it was like later
and he was
on,
interested in what you were doing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like a lot of people who know Tunji, like if you know Tunji, you know, but if you don't know, you don't know. But like at the time, he was rapping, right? He was part of that group in Verse. So I remember like, yo, let's do some stuff. And like I remember like he had sent me some like, he had like a record, a song was called Going Places. And I was like, yo, this is dope. And I was like, yo, can you send me the acapella? And he sent me the acapella, and I like did like a remix to. I probably still had that shit, to be honest. I'm gonna put that out, Tunch. Like he sent me that, and it was just like super cool, but it was like super genuine. You know what I mean? And like I think after like I started that like relationship with Tunch, that's when things got serious. Cause I remember telling him about like coming to LA, and he was like, yo, yeah, you should come to LA. He's like, yo, I'm gonna be moving out soon out of my crib. You know, me and my girl gonna get a place. So once we get sorted, you're more than welcome to come out. And I was like, cool. And I remember coming out, and I came out with my boy Promise. And it's funny because I remember this shit. We came out, and the day we came out, he had picked us up from the airport, and we went to the crib. And that night we actually came here. So that was the first time I came here. And yo, that's crazy. Wow. Holy. Yeah, so that night we came here, and that's when I met you, and I think Addie was here and Rich was here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just kind of like went from there, and he was like super instrumental in like really getting me like on the right path, and like, yo, you should like get in and lock in and really get shit going. So
that's crazy. Did you know Addie and Rich before that?
Yeah.
Okay. But that just happened to be that they were here at the same time. Because I was like, wait a second, man. That would be crazy if that was the first time you met those guys also being from... Okay.
I've known them forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy, man. So he gets you kind of started on the path and just showing you around. And, I mean, obviously, Addie and Rich, when we had those first sessions, were bringing a ton of people through.
Yeah.
And is that just like, okay, cool? I mean, I remember, Addie and I, when we did our episode, I was talking to him about, the coordinated attack that he put on LA when those sessions were first happening, man.
My boy Addie, put some respect on his name.
Oh, for sure, man. And how, when we were here, it was like, you, Promise, Junior, Crook, Rich, everybody's like, okay, he's going to be here from this time. He's going to go shoot a music video. He's going to do this. It's going to be him after making beats. And it was just like factory just cranking hard. Everybody was working, and it was great, man. It was such a cool era. And, Addie had, I'm sure, and I'm sure Tunji was a huge part of it too, but just bringing a lot of the LA artists, the Pac Div, the UNI, the, whoever it might have been. I don't know if Teron and Aomari came through when you guys were here. I honestly can't even remember.
I don't know
those sessions, because I was working with those guys in that early, like when I was still in my apartment, but then also when I first moved here. But you come down here, first trip to LA. What's happening? Man,
first trip to LA, I remember before I left to come out here, I remember Tun saying to me, bring a jacket because it's cold. And I was like, oh, word? He was like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. I remember bringing the jacket, and then I remember getting off the plane, and we was in the car and we're driving, and I'm seeing people in like t-shirts and shorts playing tennis, and I'm like, fuck y'all know about cold? Like, this shit is not cold. This is a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're from LA, cold is
not cold. Funny enough, though, that being said, it's kind of chilly outside right now. It's kind of nippy.
It's still not cold, though.
No, it's not like Canada cold, but it's just like, yeah, you light sweater, light jacket type situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming to LA, it was just like, it was exciting. I mean, it was exciting. It was just knowing that all the things that you've seen and kind of heard and like imagined were like right around you. It's like, okay, cool, we're in LA. Like, this is where shit goes down. So you're charged. You're ready to go. You're like, yo, how do I hit the ground running? Yo, who am I gonna run into? Is my life gonna change when I walk out the door today? Like, that's the space you're in. You know what I mean? So.
And what was, I guess, like your experience that first trip? Was it just meeting a lot of new artists and that started to bridge those relationships? Because I mean, you've been coming down here regularly since.
Yeah. I think that first trip, it was cool. You know what I mean? It wasn't like super crazy productive like I would have wanted, but I think it was what it needed to be. Because if it was like super crazy productive out the gate, I think it would have just been a bit OD. It just had to build. I will say, actually, one of the things that did happen on that trip. So let me rewind for a second. When I was in college, one of my homies had hit me up about some music. He's like, "Yo, I found this artist. I think you'd really like him. You should check him out." So, all right, cool. I'm like, "Send me the project. Send me the project." So he sends me his project. It's a Kendrick Lamar EP. So I'm like, "Oh, this dude crazy." I'm like, this guy's going nuts. I'm like, all right, bet, cool. So at the time, it was, what was it? Facebook. Cool. So I just messaged him on Facebook. "Yo, what's up? Da 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 da. I heard the music. I'm a fan. You know what I mean? Yo, I produced. Da 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 da. Would love to get up." So, cool. Let's go. So we started a relationship, started building a relationship, sending music back and forth, whatever. And what's it called? I'm sending him beats, he's sending me songs, we talking about stuff or whatnot. And then at that time he kind of told me about Black Hippie. He's like, "Yo, these are my guys." I said, "Okay, cool." I said, "Well, yo, here's a pack of beats, pass them around to whoever you want. Like, I'm not tripping." Cool. Fast forward, I want to say maybe a month after that, I was up one night. I don't even know. It was like maybe like 3 a.m. or something. I don't even know why I was up that late at the time, to be honest. And I just happened to be on Facebook. And because there's the time difference between Canada and LA, 3 hours, right? So I get a message from this dude Quincy. I'm like, "Who the fuck is this?" He's like, "Yo, what's up? I'm Schoolboy, da 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 da. I heard them joints that Kendrick had. You were saying Kendrick, yo, can you send me some shit?" So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I sent him a bunch of stuff. Didn't think none of it. Fast forward, I was at work one day, and my homie had called me. He was like, yo, Schoolboy dropped this record." And I'm like, "Okay, dope." He's like, "Yeah, but I think it's one of your beats." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. It's not working. I'm like, damn. So I get home, and I'm trying to pull up the record. And then Addy messages me. He's like, "Yo, is this one of your joints?" And I'm like, "Yo, you the second person to say this. Let me see what's to that." So I hear it, and I'm like, "Oh, shit. This is my joint." So then I start bugging out. So I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy." So I text Kendrick, and I'm like, "Yo, bro, this is wild. Like, you ain't telling me da 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 da." And he's like, "Yo, my bad, da 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 da." I'm like, "Yo, I'm not even tripping. Like, yo, this is dope. Thank you." Funny enough, that same beat, it was Fig Get the Money. That was Fig Get the Money. And then and that was kind of how, even with that song, that was how I built my relationship with Teron and Omari, because they had heard that record and they really liked it. So they took the end of the beat and looped it up and rapped over it. So that it started that conversation between us. Yeah. Fast forward now, we did Fig Get the Money. It was cool. And then I come to LA. I'm here. And then at the time, Q had just got signed to Interscope. So Tunji was like, "Yo, Q's in the studio. We should pull up on him. We should play him some stuff." So I was like, "All right, cool. I'm down. Let's go." So we drive over there. Me, Tunji, my boy Promise. We go over there. And I remember, like, usually before I go into a session, I like to just sit down with what I have and just go through and be like, "Yo, what do I think this person would like?" And I try to put together a bunch, like a folder of stuff. I'm like, okay, this is the stuff that I feel like they would like. And then I put some like experimental stuff in there as well. Because I always feel like within the first 10 to 20 seconds of a record, if you don't pique somebody's interest, change the record.
Yeah.
Or you're going to lose them. And within the first 5 to 10 records, if you don't pique somebody's interest, then it's kind of done.
Yeah.
So anyways, we go in the studio now. So we get in there, Q's in there rolling up, smoking, whatever. Pull up, and he's just like, yeah, he's not really, he's Q. Because at this point, it's like, we've only spoken over Facebook, but we've never met in person. So it's like, cool. So he's like, yeah, play some shit. So I start playing beats, and it's like, I'm like reading his body language. So it's like, if he likes a beat, he'll start nodding his head. If he doesn't, then he'll just go back to like rolling or doing whatever. So I see him rolling. Okay, cool. Change me, cool, whatever. So I play a bunch of beats. He's like, yo, I like this, I like this, I like this, like this. So before we went to the session, there was one beat that I had that I was just playing at the crib, and Tunji was like, yo, this beat's fire. You should play this beat for Q when we get to the studio. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna play this for him, cause I want to play this beat for Nas. Like, which is crazy because I don't know Nas. It's not like I got a plug to Nas, but in my mind, it's like, yo, this is a beat that I play for Nas, because I think at the time, what was that song? There was a record that Kanye and Nas had done. I feel like it was called Daydream, but maybe I'm tripping. But I remember it was like the beginning of the song was like what 1 2 1 2, some dreams stay dreams, some dreams come true. But anyways, like it was that record I heard, and it kind of inspired that beat. So he was like, yo, you should play this for Q. And I was like, yeah, nah, this is the Nas record. Like, you know, I'm going to find the plug, get it to Nas, whatever. So we in the session, played a whole bunch of beats now, and we about to get ready to go. So Tunji's like, yo, you should play that one beat. And I was like, yeah, I'm cool. And he's like, yo, just play the beat. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I was like, fuck it, play the beat. You know what I mean? I played the beat. And then Q's there, and he just listened to it, and he starts like nodding to it, and he's like, okay, cool. And he's like just going, and then he was like, yo, send me that beat. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, no, send it to me right now. Like, I want you to text it to me, like I want to see it on my phone before you leave. So I was like, okay, cool. And then we left, whatever, shit moves. And then like months later, I'm just hearing all these whispers. Like I'm talking to Tunj, I'm talking to the big homie Archie, and they're like, yo, that beat, like Q really fucking with that beat. Like he wants to like put that shit on the album. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah. Then Tunj team, he's like, yo, Q gonna text you. He wants you to send him back the beat because he want to get Raekwon on there. And I'm like, what? So okay, so he texts me like, he's like, what'd he say? He's like, what up, Fulio? What's happening? Can you send that? So I'm like, yeah, cool. I sent it to him. Then I'm like, I'm just living, just trying to get shit done, keep moving, whatever. I don't hear nothing. Everyone's just talking. So I'm like, yo, I'm not hearing this song. So I remember I was at this point I had started working with Matt. So I had Matt was going to New York one time to do some meetings, and he was like, yo, I'm gonna be in New York for the weekend. You should come. So I was like, fuck, I got work, And I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna come. And I just had like that. I'll tell you that shit after, but I had like these crazy finesses just to get out of work, just to go. So like the wildest shit, bro. So anyways, cool. Boom. I go to New York. I'm in New York, and I get there and I hit my homie who was there. I'm like, yo, bro, I gotta come to New York for a couple of days. Can I crash at your crib? He's like, yeah, cool. So I'm like at the homie crib, sleeping on his floor for like the next 3-4 days, just so I can get these meetings done. And I think Kendrick happened to be in New York at the time. He was doing a performance on one of those like late night shows or something. And Ali was in the studio. So Ali was like, yo, pull up to the studio. So I'm like, cool. So I go to the studio, and he was in there like working. He was like mixing some shit. It was me, him, and Sycamore. And we were just in there like shooting the shits or whatnot. And then we were talking, and then somehow the song came up. And then he was like, oh, you ain't heard the song? And I was like, no, I haven't heard the song, because everyone keeps telling me about this song, but I haven't heard it. He's like, okay, cool, boom, I got it. Da-da-da. He plays me the song. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. Like, it's like my mind is blown, because like growing up, it's like I grew up listening to Wu-Tang. So that's something like, that's a part of the fabric of who I am. So it's like to hear this artist that I love, Schoolboy Q, next to this artist that I idolize, that's crazy to me. And I'm just like, and this is happening over something that I put together and presented into the world, and it just made its way to this. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And Ali's like, obviously for him, it's like, yo, this is whatever. For me, it's like, yo, this is a big deal, because I've never been a part of something like that at that point in time. And it was just like, yeah, it was just next level.
I cannot imagine, man. That's so cool just to hear this story of like how all that started from the seed. That's the amazing thing to me. Like the proactive approach and just starting with fuck it, I'm going to just throw a Facebook message to Kendrick Lamar and build a relationship that results in, oh shit, I just placed a beat on a Schoolboy Q album with Raekwon.
Yeah.
Is a pretty amazing quantum leap, you know, and in the progression. And so I'm sure that obviously had to get things rolling in a crazy way, you know. And
definitely.
what was, you're going through the early stages and like you jump into the relationship with Matt. Is that your first manager?
Yeah.
And prior to that, are you just kind of like, I'm happy to be here. I'm sending everybody beats. Whatever you guys do, great. Business is not really something that's being done because obviously at that point it's kind of like, fuck it. Yeah, you put a beat out and it's probably a song that's getting released for free anyway. So it's really not like it's going to make me any kind of significant money. But you now get management. Is that something that Matt's aware of you and reaches out to you? Or is that something that you're aware of Matt? Reach out to Matt? Like, what's the initial stage of getting your first manager?
So with Matt, again, like, and it's like I say this and I always say this and I can't say this enough. Like, yo, I'm thankful for the people that I have in my life and just the people that I've crossed paths with. And Matt, that was all Tunji. Tunji was like, yo, you got this record. Yeah, I mean, yo, you should really like look at getting the situation, getting some type of management. He's like, yo, I sat down with my man Matt. Yeah, I mean, I played him your stuff. He really likes it. I think y'all should connect. So it's like, cool. So then me and Matt connect off the Q shit. So we did that. And then after that, we were just like rolling and working. And it was crazy because I always kind of find it crazy how people are so fixated on like the legalities of things. Because don't get me wrong, having something tangible or having some type of contract is important in a lot of spaces. You know what I mean? To make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. But there's other situations where it just clicks and it makes sense. And it's like, that's one of those situations. Like, yeah, Matt is my manager, but like, I consider Matt my brother. Like, he's one of my closest friends. Like, that's my homie. You know what I mean? Like, anything he needs, I got him and vice versa. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it's automatic. And we've been rocking with each other ever since. And it's like, it was crazy because I remember when we did the Schoolboy record and everything was said and done. And I remember I got paid. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, you got a manager. You got to pay your manager. Like, that's how it works. Like, he's not going to work for free. Like, nobody works for free. And I remember, and I was like, hey, cool. Got this bread. So what are we doing? Like, what is it? And I remember he was like, yo, nah, we good. Like, that's your money. I was like, word? And I was like, you sure? He said, yeah, that's your money. Don't even worry about it. And I remember from that point for like, and this was like maybe upwards of like maybe 2 years, not once did this man take a dime from me. And it was like, I'd always be like, yo, Matt, you know, okay, cool, let's break bread. He'd be like, nah, you good to shoot. Nah, you good to shoot. And I was like, damn, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, and I remember he said something to me earlier on when we first met. And he was like, yo, when we first started talking, he was like, yo, do you have an attorney? Do you have a lawyer? I said, no, I don't. He's like, yo, you should get one. I'm like, word? He's like, yeah. He's like, if I'm being honest with you, you don't need a manager. The one thing you need is an attorney. Manager, you can manage yourself, but you need someone who knows the legalities and the ins and outs of this world to make sure you're being taken care of. And it's like, for him to say that as a manager was a big thing, because he could have been like, yo, you need a manager, you need me.
Yeah, of course.
But he was like, nah, you don't need me, you really don't. And again, these are the things that like that I think about, and this is the reason why I hold him in such high regard. And it's like, yo, people who know Matt's a really cool dude. Matt's a man of very few words. You know what I mean? He's not like the most jokey guy at times. You know what I mean? But yo, when Matt's rocking with you, he's rocking with you, and there's no question about it, and he'll always have your back. So.
It's funny you say that, and literally last night, sitting right there, he was like, my goal as a manager is to teach everybody how to manage themselves so I don't have to be a part of it like that. Facts. And it's just literally like what you just described.
But it's crazy because like if that's his goal,
Yeah.
and I can only say this with myself, he succeeded. Because it's like, as close as me and Matt are, we don't talk every day. And it's not like we don't talk every day because I'm like, yo, fuck him or whatever. It's just like, we don't need to.
Yeah.
Like, I tap Matt in when I need to. Like, because for the most part, I'm self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But that's because of the space he allowed. You know what I mean? He breeded an environment where it was like, yo, cool, I'm your guy, but figure this out. Like, you need to figure this out too. You got to understand how this works. Because there might be conversations where you have to have that conversation, and for whatever reason, I can't be there.
Yeah.
So you're gonna stop doing business? No, you're gonna figure it out. So it's like that's definitely Matt. You know what I mean? He wants his team to work and operate at the best and the highest frequency possible at all times.
Yep. That's what it takes, man. Somebody who genuinely cares, you know? So, I mean, I was telling Matt last night, it's just nothing but love. He's always been trying to throw me opportunities. He's always just been somebody who looks out. He's just a great fucking person.
Yep.
So things are rolling. Management's in place. Matt's helping you out. Is Matt starting to bring opportunities to the table? Sounds like between Matt and Tunji, they're both feeding you tons of alley-oops, getting you in the studio. Yep. You're just making a bunch of records?
Yeah, I'm between the two of them. It's like opportunities are coming, and it's like I'm in LA, I'm in New York, I'm just moving around, just really like just getting stuff done, and then obviously like just building my own network, and things are just moving. At the time, like I remember, and this is just goes to like the visionary of what Tunji is, but like at the time I remember one of the groups that I was like super like a fan of was Overdose. I was like, yo, these guys are super fire, da 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 da. And I remember talking to Tunj one time and I was like, yo, what's going on with Overdose? Like, can you tap me in with them? Like, I love to work with them. And he was like, yo, they good, they're dope, you know what I mean? But yo, there's this other group over here, these cats, War and Brew, like I think they're gonna be the next, so I think you should mess with them. So I was like, all right, cool. If Big Bro says it, let's rock. So I connected with them, the homie Ryan, and then we had started working, and we did a bunch of stuff, like so many records. We just kept going. And yeah, they did their thing, and then they ended up signing to Red Bull. They were like the first hip hop act that Red Bull Records had signed. They signed them, and by way of them, I ended up getting signed. Because the A&R was like, yo, who's producing these records? And da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, oh, you're the homie Quest out in Toronto. And then he was like, oh, this is dope. And then, yeah, I mean, connected with my guy Tick. And, yeah, we've been rocking ever since.
Nice. Still rocking with Red Bull?
Yes, sir.
Publishing deal?
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome, man. And that's been a great relationship. That's a cool way to walk in the door, too.
Yeah.
Tick's amazing. We've been wrestling a little bit with schedules to try to get him in to do a podcast.
Damn, you got to get Tick in here, man.
Yeah. What a story too. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But awesome, man. So that's, that's the progression up until now. And now what's your world? What's your, I guess, goals at this point? Are there certain artists that you're still looking to work with? Is it just being a part of new projects?
Yeah. There's a ton of artists that I'm looking to work with. There's like so many, like my wish list is very elaborate, I would say, and it continues to grow because there's new artists that I just discovered. I'm like, yo, this person's amazing. I'd love to do something with them. I think now I'm more so in the space of not necessarily like I'm still doing beats, but I'm more so in the space of like really producing people. I think that's where my heart is. I really like want to sit down in the studio and really develop artists. Like I something about artist development that just gets me excited. Like,
me too. I love
really
it.
taking a process and taking somebody from point A to point B is just, I don't know, it's just super cool. And I feel like the space that we live in, it's almost like a lost art form, because a lot of people, especially in like the label system, it's just not something that's very like prevalent. You know what I mean? And again, it's like, it's funny because like now, like for me, I'm on the label side. Like I'm A&R now at Warner, so I do that in Toronto. So that's another thing too. It's like I can kind of be a resource for like these newer artists coming up and really impart the knowledge that I've been able to gain through my experiences and the people that I've met, and help them not to make mistakes that I've made or people around me have made. And I think me being on the A&R side is advantageous because there's a lot of A&Rs that I find that are just like business people. You know what I mean? They don't really understand the creative world. They wouldn't know how to put a record together. They couldn't tell you why this record is good, and that's fine. Like, there's that type of A&R, but I feel like there always should be somebody in A&R that does understand music and understands the creative, and coming from that world, it makes those conversations a lot easier.
Totally.
So
100%, man. Well, I feel like we did a pretty epic job covering the details. I would, I guess, just leave it on a last note of if there's a best place to reach you, whether that's people who eventually want to send you music or just get in contact with you. Is that Instagram? Is that Facebook? Is that an email?
Best place to reach me, I would say Instagram.
Yeah.
Send me a DM. If you want to email me music, you can send it to soundsforquest@gmail.com. You know what I mean? That's usually the spot where I just like have people submit stuff to, and just go through it there. But yeah, like,
sick. Let's shut it down. That was great, man.
Let's go.
Thank you again.
No, thank you, man.
Bong.